It's time for some insight to Israel. I'm your host, Natasha Kirtchuk, and coming up, we'll reveal which Israeli band is behind some of the biggest hits in Hollywood. Is matchmaking really an ancient tradition? Well, we'll meet some of the women who are making the practice relevant again in Israel. And we hope you're ready to laugh because we have the scoop on what locals believe is the closest thing to magic. Since 2003, I've been absolutely addicted to the Israeli band Balkan Beatbox. So when I started hearing their beats in some of the most popular songs in Hollywood, I was more than shocked. Check this out. Every Israeli knows this song, but does it sound familiar to you? You may not know it, but you've probably heard it before, sampled in one of the biggest hits of 2013.
Talk dirty to me. Talk dirty to me.
Yes, huge Hollywood stars like Jason Derulo have been sampling music from one of the biggest bands in Israel. And if you didn't know them, meet Balkan Beatbox.
I trusted you, now you full of attitude. We used to be addicted to each other. I trusted you, now you full of
Tonight, Balkan Beatbox is celebrating the 10th anniversary of their hit album, Blue-Eyed Black Boy. We're about to go backstage to meet the legends themselves.
Kamer Yosef, Ori Kaplan, and Tamir Muscat are the men behind Balkan Beatbox. Three Israelis from totally different cultural backgrounds, who happened to find themselves in New York City in the early 2000s.
I trusted you, now you full of attitude.
Everybody in this country is coming from somewhere else. Friends are from Morocco, Egypt, Romania, Russia, everywhere. But I think that New York actually started bringing like the authenticity of our upbringing. Like when you're a stranger, somehow you're looking for identity and you find something that is deeper. So we started really checking ourselves under the lights of New York City.
Got a system and they see the money.
What Balkan Beatbox did was something completely new. They combined ancient musical traditions with modern-day hip-hop. Their first self-titled album received global acclaim.
On the rise, they don't wanna go.
When did you realize that you guys were creating something that was unbelievable?
I wake up every morning. That's what I'm thinking.
Every time I look at myself in the mirror.
Most people really just don't know what to call this genre. I like to call it Mediterranean magic.
Reggae, cumbia, brass, electronic dance music, Spanish flamenco. These are just some of the sounds that define BBB's music. Sounds that have been picked up by major Hollywood stars.
Give it to me, I'm worth it. Baby, I'm lo que sentimos.
Better act right, cause I smack dikes, give 'em blow and a bit of that bagpipe.
LA pop culture using our music was a little bit of like a stamp that we have something special.
I think we were always this outsider sound band. Suddenly it's like it's right in the middle of the mainstream. It's a little bit like, you know, fuck you.
When we play Hermetico today, people think that we're covering Derulo. You know?
All of BBB's success has led to perhaps their biggest achievement of all. They aren't signed to any record label, which means all the money they make goes back into the band to create new hits.
You actually place so much time together with like your dream team. And they are like your best friends.
Yeah, we've been like sound checking for this show yesterday. So I raised my hand and I'm like, shit sounds so good, you know. So
Yeah, that's the defining moment.
After
Like,
12
every
years
moment.
together, it's like almost looking at your wife after 15 years saying like,
I love
she's
you.
hot,
I
you know?
love you. I actually love you.
That's amazing, you know. It's like I feel so lucky.
Almost 40 years ago, the Israeli Mossad opened a fake diving resort on the Sudanese shores of the Red Sea. Their goal? To secretly rescue Ethiopian Jews from Sudan and safely transport them to Israel. Gad Shimron was one of the secret agents who engineered the entire mission called Operation Brothers, and he's here with me today. Gad, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so tell us a little bit about how this idea came about.
Well, actually, we are talking about the late 70s, early 80s of the last century.
Right.
The Ethiopian Jews had been cut off from main Jewry for more than 1,000 years, and they were not regarded as Jews. They were regarded as some kind of exotic tribe, somehow attached to Judaism. But then, around 1975, the Israeli chief rabbi decided they are Jews. And if they are Jews, then we have the law of return. And at that time, started a very fierce civil war in Ethiopia. And they wanted to come to Israel, and they couldn't come from Ethiopia, so they crossed the border to Sudan, and from there they asked, please get us to Israel. The problem was, Sudan was, and still is, an Arab country, a hostile country. And therefore, the Prime Minister, then Prime Minister, Mr. Begin, called the chief of the Mossad and told him, bring me the Jews of Ethiopia. Now, easily said, how do you do it? And because you need some cover story to operate in a hostile country. And after a very long, research, etc., the idea came up to reuse an abandoned Italian diving village on the shore of the Red Sea.
So how was this resort used to essentially rescue these Jews?
I must tell you that because unlike what many people think, not a single Ethiopian Jew came through the village. The village was totally a cover story village. It enabled us to move around Sudan, to drive from the Red Sea to Khartoum, the capital, and back, bringing equipment, so to say.
Right.
And it also gave our people, who were always between 4 and 15, depends how many operations we had. It gave us a good cover story to be in this hostile country, Sudan.
It's crazy. I mean, but how was the Mossad able to hide that this was a fake resort? It seems outlandish.
Before being in this operation, I've been to many real James Bond-like operations, the real spying operations.
Right.
This operation has nothing to do with spying, actually.
Yeah.
It's a humanitarian operation.
Right.
This is, by the way, one of the big how should I say, the advantages of the Israeli Mossad, and one of the reasons it's so famous, because no other intelligence organization would have taken on its shoulders, this mission of bringing refugees. It's the only case in African history where white people took out black people in order to free them, not to enslave them. It's really something unique.
So how many people were saved as a result of this mission?
We managed to smuggle via the Red Sea and later in aerial operations, which are really Israeli chutzpah.
Right.
We landed Israeli Air Force planes in the middle of the Sudanese desert, and from there, direct flights to Israel. Altogether, something like 7,000.
7,000 people. Did it really feel like vacation when you were there? It doesn't sound like it sounded like vacation.
It was a combination, I must tell you, because from the real operations in my past, I don't remember anything. I mean, if the Hezbollah will catch me today and torture me, they'll get nothing out of me because I don't remember. But in this operation, all of us, all the people who took part in it, we felt we were doing something really unique. We used to call it a Zionist James Bond operation. And I agree, sometimes it felt like a holiday, but still it was a hostile country. We were shot at, I was arrested, I was interrogated. There were road accidents.
This wasn't the vacation that some people might try to make it out to be, but to
be
fair, a Hollywood movie is actually being made about this incredible operation. It's going to be starring Ben Kingsley, Haley Bennett, Chris Evans, big stars. Can you tell me a little bit about this? Is somebody playing you, perhaps?
No, unfortunately, at the beginning there were negotiations to use my book, which is called Mossad Exodus.
Right. And you're holding it right here for anybody who wants to read more about this.
There were negotiations that the movie will be based on this book, because really this is the chronicles of this operation.
Right.
Unfortunately, due to some agent wars, I'm not going to go into details about that, they decided to do it in other way. I really hope this film will be as close to reality as possible and will not do again what, for example, Spielberg had done to the Mossad with his movie Munich, if you remember,
Right.
about the assassinations after the 1972 Olympic Games, which had nothing to do with reality. So I hope that this movie will really show sometimes it's difficult to be proud about being a Zionist, but this operation really gives you the reason to feel great and say, okay, I belong to a nation that's doing things that no other nation is doing.
Well, I mean, I certainly want to read your book, Mossad Exodus. I want to see this movie when it comes out. I don't think they've released a release date yet, right?
Not
yet. So we're still going to have to wait for that. But God, thank you so much for coming in, and kol hakavod. Amazing, amazing work, right?
Thank you.
Today in Israel, most people use dating apps to start relationships, but that's beginning to change with the revival of an ancient Jewish tradition, matchmaking. Check this out.
I have people like a little socially awkward. Those are the ones I charge more. I have to go to a lot of events with them and see how they're talking. And I'm like, you started a conversation with that girl and then you just walked away. Do you know you even did that?
Would you consider going to a professional matchmaker, or is that a tradition that's just outdated? How do most people date today in Israel?
I think on Instagram,
J-Date.
OkCupid, Tinder.
1 in 5 18 to 24-year-olds use mobile dating apps, and those are numbers that just keep on growing.
But in Israel, a new trend is popping up. Professional matchmakers. Meet Jess and Gali. This is what they do for a living.
The reason I started matchmaking was because I saw that people were going on many dates, mostly through dating apps, and it wasn't continuing much past a second or third date.
Statistics show that 49 million people have tried online dating, but only 20% of committed relationships start online.
You have a million choices. It's like being in a grocery store of dating. Some people still view the matchmaking as this ancient practice done in the shtetl and not relevant today, but we've had a surge of people coming to us that are like, this is the best thing ever. Finally, it's like a headhunter for your love life. I have successfully matched 8 couples that got to marriage. It's the most fulfilling kind of work you can do.
People are just forgetting how to interact in real life. In fact, in the UK, half of British singles have never asked a date out in person, according to The Sun. Do you think that it's weird when guys approach you in a bar?
I prefer that guys will do that. I don't want someone to choose me from the catalog. הלוואי ויבואו להתחיל איתי כמו פעם, old fashion, הלוואי.
So how much does it cost to hire a professional matchmaker? For Gali and Jess to organize dates and find good matches for their clients, the process can cost as little as 500 shekels a year. Afterwards, if a match becomes more serious, there's a success fee of 2,500 shekels.
אנחנו פוגשות את כל האנשים שאנחנו בעצם מחברות לזוגיות, וזה הופך את הדייט עצמו להרבה יותר מדויק.
That guy you just showed me, so picky, like wants the most beautiful, most intelligent, and then he's always traveling the world, so he's not here. So I don't know what he wants. This guy, he's American and Israeli, very sweet. We need to give him a makeover on the photos, because they're not good.
Most people have learned how to stalk other people online.
Right.
עכשיו לדוגמה, רציתי להכיר לך מישהו, הוא אומר לי, תשלחי לי את האינסטגרם. אני לא שולחת, לא האינסטגרם ולא הפייסבוק של הלקוחות שלי.
In 2013, the matchmaking industry was estimated to be worth a whopping $500 million in the United States. Would you consider going to a matchmaker?
Possible, yeah. If they have good, percentage of closing the deal, of course.
Everyone who I've ever matched, like they look at me and their faces light up. So there's no better feeling in the world.
הרבה פעמים זה לוקח זמן, אבל כן, בסופו של דבר לכל סיר יש מכסה.
All right, guys. When I was 19, I got into a serious accident while traveling in Brazil. I was in a small northern town where the nearest public hospital was almost a 2-hour drive away. And the doctor that ended up treating me made the wrong diagnosis. The fact is, we all want to enjoy our vacations to the fullest, but sometimes bad things happen. And lots of tourists simply aren't prepared for medical emergencies. Now get this, a new Israeli platform called Air Doctor has your back. It's simple. If you get into medical trouble abroad, all you have to do is log on to the Air Doctor app. It has a database of physicians that have been closely vetted for emergency situations in over 15 countries. That way, if you don't know the local language or how to ask for help, you can depend on the app. The platform simply detects your location and then it finds the closest specialist that can address your needs. And best of all, you're not looking at just a list of doctors. Every practitioner on the platform is in direct contact with Air Doctor, so they're all licensed and they're all trusted professionals. The groundbreaking app was actually created by an Israeli veteran that had just been released from the army. Yam Delflier himself he did what many soldiers do. He took a post-army trip around the world. And when he was in Mexico, he fell ill and he ended up getting the wrong treatment because he couldn't find the right doctor. Now fast forward to 2019 and his app, it's now available in countries from Greece to Spain to Russia, and it's already been downloaded at least 20,000 times. So you may want to check it out yourself. All right, it's time for our segment Israelis Say. What do you think is the closest thing to magic? Well, we wanted to hear what locals have to say, so correspondent Joy Gavishon and I hit the streets of Tel Aviv.
And now it's time for a question of the week.
What is the closest thing to real magic?
I'm doing what I love. That's real magic.
First bite of falafel.
That's better.
עכשיו נגיד, הכרתי אתכם.
This is pure magic.
Nobody wants to talk to us. Why? What? מה זה היה? What if we went around and just... אפשר לראיין אותך?
בטח.
כן?
Joy, I did not plan on running this much.
Number one, I love Emily. I also love cybersecurity.
Emily, cybersecurity,
And the Holy Land.
and the Holy Land.
My three favorites.
When I cook and it actually tastes okay. I know that feeling.
My girlfriend.
At this point, this is just guys who are trying to get on the good sides of their girlfriends.
Sanshue, you are the closest thing to the real magic.
שראית אותי בשנייה הראשונה.
זה הרגיש לי הכי קרוב לקסם. אין ספק.
נגיד, like הביס הראשון של ג'פניקה.
לא, חד משמעית. לא קשור.
I have to go with him.
Sorry, ג'פניקה.
שלום בעולם, שאנשים יאהבו אחד על השני, ויהיה נתינה, ויהיה שירה וריקודים.
ואולי הנכד הבא, נכון?
הנכד הבא, נכד 15.
מזל טוב.
All right, Joy, it was not easy getting people to answer that question.
I mean, it's a question that it's hard to answer when you don't have time to think about it.
Yeah, and I've
right?
had some time to think about it, so I do have some answers myself. But I'll let you go first. What would you say?
I have a list.
Oh, Lord.
I'm going to just read it to you because I didn't want to forget anything.
Okay.
Okay, first, taking off my heels after a long day.
Oh, absolutely magic.
Yes, right?
Absolutely magic. I cannot wait for this show to be over.
Yeah. This one is a little bit of a cliche, but it's the smell of coffee in the morning. That's the first thing.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
There's a special feeling, magical feeling about it.
Yeah, that you know that you're actually going to get through the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Celebrating when my team scores. That's
Joy. Joy's a fanatic, an absolute fanatic.
Then this one is interesting. Coming back home after work and remembering that I have leftovers and I don't have to cook.
Oh.
Or coming back home.
That seems like it has
finding out that my fiance has cooked dinner for me and I don't have to cook.
Okay, that makes more sense to me because who wants leftovers at the end of the day? I mean, I get it. You don't have to cook.
Good leftovers.
Okay, good leftovers. As long as and I know you're a pretty good cook. Yeah. Okay, so for me, what I was thinking about was when you wake up in the morning and you think that you have to get up for work, but then you realize that it's actually the weekend and you can sleep for
amazing.
2 more hours.
I have to give that to you. Yes, that is one of the best ones.
You know what
I would say.
You feel it, right? And I would say another thing is just basically anything that has to do with food. You know, when you're so hungry and you just put that first bite of food in your mouth and you know.
Yes.
That you're going to be hungry no longer. I'm a hangry person.
Me too, you know that. Yes.
I know. Both of us have this issue that we get a little bit aggressive when we're hungry. So anything that's related to food is basically heaven to me, is what I'd say.
It's like having, that piece of chocolate at night. When you're craving something sweet,
All right. Well, I think that we could have answered the question really well if somebody had approached us on the street. Joy,
next time we'll answer.
Next time, exactly. Joy, thanks for joining me.
Of course.
All right, it's time for our segment, What's Trending with Nauri Lizarraga. Now, Nauri, tell us what is going viral in Israel this week.
So today we have this video posted by Amir Mizrahi. He made.
Oh, I saw this on Facebook. This went crazy. So this guy is basically standing in a parking space that he will not give up.
He will not give up, and like this is a very common thing that we can see in Tel Aviv.
I know. Unfortunately, this is a trend. It literally is a trend. And actually, I saw this post. This guy Amir Mizrahi, he wrote the 3 things that receive the highest degree of protection. 1 is Mona Lisa, 2 is the White House, and 3 is Tel Aviv parking, as you can see.
It's crazy because in Tel Aviv, it's literally almost impossible to find any parking.
Right.
So people, I call it the game. Have you played the game? It's so easy. You're in the car, you're in your car, and most likely you won't ever find parking. But
so
if you
you're
do,
just gonna circle for 3 hours.
Exactly. Endlessly, and then when you find it, that's it. Like the person driving keeps driving, and then you go
hold on
out.
to that thing like your firstborn child.
Exactly.
Basically. And it's so funny because this is actually culturally not acceptable in most countries, but we see this happening here a lot. Is this okay to be doing? How do Israelis typically respond?
I mean, if we're gonna go with cultural as acceptable in these countries, and we were gonna compare it to America or some other places, then
a lot of things.
We'll
just put it that way. Okay, so why? I mean, one of the big issues, obviously, in Israel is traffic.
Yeah.
There was a huge protest last week, right?
Exactly. Last week there was this huge protest, and literally all the traffic in Tel Aviv collapsed. There was no way. There was not even parking. There was not even.
There was no way to move. Yeah, I mean, and I remember because I take, either the bus or I take my electric bike, which we will discuss.
Yeah.
To get around. I didn't take my electric bike that day, so I was depending on the bus system, and the roads were completely stuck. There was no way to get anywhere. So
I heard about like people where they're stuck in traffic for like 3 up to 5 hours.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's real. Multiple people went through that. So what are the alternatives that exist right now in Tel Aviv?
Luckily, Tel Aviv is not a city you need a car. You can, rent a bike. The municipality of Tel Aviv have these bikes, the green bikes that you can rent for a very low price. Or you can also rent out the scooters, the bird scooters.
Yeah, these scooters are very cool because they cost only a couple of shekels. You can find them all around the city, one that's available. And you can actually get paid for charging them if you take them home. So if you charge one of these electric scooters overnight, you get 20 shekels. So sometimes you'll actually see Israelis on the streets of Tel Aviv with like 5 of these
or 6
scooters because they want to make some money on it. And they have to go out and get a beer, But yeah, so there are obviously alternatives. But I guess the point of this video is that hold on to your parking if you find it here in Tel Aviv. Fight for that parking.
Because trust me, it's going to be worth it.
Yeah. All right, if you're looking for a new TV show to binge on, ABC is about to deliver. The television channel is planning to premiere 2 pilots that are based on Israeli television series. And believe me, they're really, really popular over here. The Baker and the Beauty is supposed to be based on the Israeli show Leotita, or Being With Her. I was actually addicted to the show. It tells the story of a supermodel who falls in love with a Yemenite Israeli baker. Now, ABC's remake will follow the romance of a blue-collar baker and an international superstar. Premise obviously may sound a bit corny, but let me tell you, the show is hard to stop watching. Now, the second Israeli series that ABC has ordered into action is called Until the Wedding, or Ad HaChatuna in Hebrew. The plot is basic, but it's so true. The show tells how one couple's decision to get married affects everyone in their lives, and you don't have to be married to know that that is a fact. As of now, it's not clear when both pilots will be aired, but Israelis are antsy just waiting to see how well ABC is actually going to be able to remake these local hits. All right, everybody, that's it for today's episode of Insight to Israel. I'm Natasha Kirtchuk, and keep on smiling.